Hi, Sparkies. Tonight you will start Red Jewel 3 with the Bible biography of a woman named Tabitha. All we know about Tabitha we learn in the book of Acts, chapter 9, verses 36 to 43. Tabitha was never mentioned before, and she is never mentioned again. I find it interesting that we are not told how old Tabitha is. She might be young or she might be older. We also don't know if she was poor or rich. I guess neither of those things are important. What we do learn about Tabitha in these 8 verses, I think tells us what is important to God. You ready to hear? First, Tabitha was a disciple of Jesus. She had learned about Jesus and had put her faith in Jesus as her Savior. Second, Tabitha was known for her good works and acts of charity. She used her skills to help other people who were in need. So let's look at the Bible biography and learn about the woman named Tabitha. Tabitha lived in a town named Joppa. She was a seamstress. She sewed clothes and she gave them to the widows who lived in Joppa. We read that Tabitha became sick and died. Now in those days, a body was washed and then it would be put in an upper room of the house until the burial could take place. And that's what was done for Tabitha. Then we read that the other believers heard that Peter was in a town that was about 17 miles away. Now, Peter had been one of Jesus' disciples. He had traveled around with Jesus. So these believers sent 2 of them to the nearby town to bring Peter back with them. So when Peter arrived in Joppa, he was taken to the room where Tabitha's body was laid out. And some of the widows who had received clothes from Tabitha were standing outside the room crying. They showed Peter the clothing that Tabitha had made for them. Peter sent everyone out of the room. He knelt down beside Tabitha's body and he prayed. And then he said, "Tabitha, arise." And do you know what happened? Tabitha, who had been dead, she opened her eyes, she saw Peter, and she sat up. Peter helped Tabitha stand up, and then he took her outside the room to her friends. Through the power of God, Peter brought Tabitha back to life. That is an amazing event to have happened. The Bible tells us that Tabitha being brought back to life became known all over Joppa, and that many people came to believe in Jesus because of it. Tabitha's life and death and resurrection had an impact on a lot of people. While she was alive the first time, she was known for her good works and acts of charity. Because of her death and resurrection, many people put their faith in Jesus. Which brings us to your memory verse this week. 1 John chapter 3 verses 17 and 18 says, "But if anyone has the world's good and sees his brother in need, yet closes his heart to him, how does God's love abide in him? Little children, let us not love in word or talk, but in deed and in truth." See, Tabitha may or may not have been rich, but she had enough that she could make clothes and give them away. The widows in Joppa had need of clothing, and Tabitha gave them what they needed. Just like God is love, Tabitha demonstrated that the love of God was within her. Tabitha didn't just talk about loving others like God loved her. She demonstrated that she loved others by helping those who were in need. Kind of makes me think of God, who demonstrated His love for us when He provided Jesus as our Savior to take care of our greatest need, a solution for our sin problem. Just like Tabitha, our age doesn't matter, and how poor or rich we are doesn't matter. What matters is that we see the needs around us, and as we are able to, we do something about them. Have a great week, Sparks.